Have you ever stopped to think about your doctor and just how much they need to know? It's an absolute fire hose of new medical information coming out every single day. So how do they keep up? Well, today we're talking about their secret weapon, a kind of digital co-pilot that's changing everything. This is the story of clinical decision support.
Okay, so let's just start with the core problem, right? The amount of medical knowledge in the world isn't just growing, it's exploding. So how can any one person, no matter how smart, keep all of that in their head and apply it perfectly for you, for me, for every single patient? The simple answer is, they can't. Not alone, anyway. And that's really where our story kicks off.
And the solution, or at least the beginning of one, is something called clinical decision support. You'll hear it called CDS. Just imagine this. Your doctor's about to write a prescription and, bing, a little alert pops up on their screen. It says, hey, wait a second, this drug might interact badly with another medication this patient is on. That right there, that's CDS. It's not about replacing the doctor, not at all. It's about giving them a super smart safety net.
Now, to really appreciate how far we've come, we've got to go back, way back. So let's fire up the time machine and set the dial for the early 1990s. Believe me, the world of health technology was, well, it was a very different place.
So what did the 90s look like? You had these giant mainframe computers humming away in the hospital basement, but your actual medical chart? Yeah, that was almost certainly a paper file in a massive cabinet. Pen and paper were still king. The few digital systems that did exist were like these little isolated islands. They couldn't talk to each other at all. And true CDS, it was incredibly rare, basically just a cool experiment happening at a few big universities.
So if you had to describe these early CDS tools, the best analogy is a basic calculator. You know, the kind you had in math class. It was great for one specific problem. A doctor would have to literally stop everything, walk over to a separate computer, type in a whole bunch of data, and get an answer, like a complicated drug dosage. Was it helpful? Yeah, kind of, but it was totally disconnected from how they actually worked. It was clunky.
So you're probably wondering, if they had these calculators, why didn't every doctor have one? Well, they ran into some major roadblocks. For one, the way hospitals got paid rewarded doing more procedures, not better ones. There was no real incentive for quality. Plus, every hospital's computer system basically spoke a different language. And maybe the biggest issue, any smarts you built into one system were trapped there. You couldn't share them. It was a dead end.
But then, things started to change. Over the next 20 years or so, we saw this huge evolution. It wasn't just one thing. It was a revolution in data, in technology, and in just thinking about how doctors actually do their jobs. And this is what took CDS from being a niche academic project to an absolutely essential part of any modern hospital.
The biggest driver of this change? Data. I mean, the difference is just night and day. We went from these little puddles of information locked away in filing cabinets to an absolute ocean of it, flowing from electronic records, our smartwatches, our phones, even our own DNA. That tidal wave of data, that was the rocket fuel CDS desperately needed.
Okay, so you've got all this data, but now you have to make it genuinely useful for a busy doctor. So, developers learned some hard lessons, and they basically created what you could call the 10 commandments of good CDS. The biggest rules? Be fast. No doctor has time to stare at a spinning wheel. Fit into their workflow. Don't make them open a separate program. And above all, keep it simple. The huge takeaway was this: the technology has to adapt to the human, not the other way around.
And this is where our analogy gets a big upgrade. We're tossing out that clunky calculator and replacing it with a GPS navigator. Why? Because CDS wasn't a separate tool anymore. It was built right into the doctor's main dashboard, the electronic health record, giving them real-time guidance and warnings, all based on a complete map of the patient's data. The tech behind the scenes was on its own journey, too. It began as these Greek oracle systems, where a doctor had to go and ask a specific question to get an answer. Then, it got baked right into the main hospital software. The real breakthrough, though, was creating standards, a common language, so these smart tools could be shared. And now, we're moving toward an app store model, where a hospital can just pick and choose the best CDS tools and plug them right in.
So, we've seen the past and the present, from calculator to GPS. But what's next? This is where things get really exciting. Let's pivot and look at the vision for what clinical decision support is going to become.
Let's jump forward in time again, this time to the year 2040. What does the doctor's digital assistant even look like then?
Well, the experts who wrote the paper this is all based on, they predict a future where these cognitive aids aren't just an option, they're a routine, essential part of every single doctor's visit.
And here is where our analogy takes its final incredible leap. The GPS Navigator evolves into a full-on AI co-pilot. This isn't just a tool you consult. This is a constant, proactive partner that's with you 24/7, understands you on a deeply personal level, and helps you manage your health. So what can this AI copilot do? This is the wild stuff. It's analyzing your entire unique biological blueprint, your genes, the bacteria in your gut, the whole shebang. It's pulling in real-time data from your environment, from the air you're breathing to what you just ate. It's constantly running what-if scenarios to predict your future health. And maybe most important of all, it's not a black box. It can always explain why it's making a recommendation, making it a true partner in your health journey. And this changes everything. The traditional doctor-patient relationship becomes a three-way partnership. It's you, your doctor, and your personal AI copilot all working together, figuring out the best path forward.
Which brings us to our final, and I think most profound question. If you have a perfect AI copilot that knows all the data, calculates all the risks, and sees all the possibilities, what does that mean for the human doctor? What becomes their most important job? That is the challenge and the promise for the future of medicine.